the way we're set up, we've got a 5-day session. And then an off day. This will be the end of another 5-day session, followed by an off day, and then we'll have a 4-day session and an off day. So the off days have kind of been a chance for us as coaches to go back and look at the entire roster, and that's what we do during those days, visit about each position group, what it's looking like, gives us a chance to do some different breakdowns. In the middle of the weeks, you're just kind of fighting to get ready each day. I mean, these days are long, and there's a lot of organization, a lot to put together. So those guys have given us a lot of good things to look at, a lot of excitement about that room, but we'll evaluate, tonight and then have a chance to catch our breath tomorrow.
That's Lincoln Riley talking about the schedule through training camp, and he seems to still think that that Spencer Rattler is a part of this competition in a meaningful way. For that matter, he thinks that Tanner Mordecai is a part of this competition in a meaningful way. I contend Jalen Hurts is playing against himself. But, quote is about Spencer Rattler from Lincoln Riley. He's done a nice job. He's a very gifted thrower. He's done a nice job. He's more than anybody just kind of a race against time having not been here in the spring. You can certainly tell that the other two were here for spring. And there's no doubt, and certainly could early, but he's gaining on, not necessarily gaining on Jalen or gaining on Tanner, but just gaining on getting to the point where he can execute and communicate everything that we want him to. He's a quick study. And one thing I have appreciated about the kid, even though he wasn't here for the spring, he's not afraid of the moment. He thinks he should be right in the middle of it, which you better believe that. And he certainly has that self-confidence, end quote. Sounds like a really great candidate for a redshirt season. I've said that from the very beginning. I love Spencer Rattler, love his game, enjoy watching him on film, enjoy getting to know him. Still think he's going to redshirt, still thought he should have redshirted. That was even Austin Kendall was here. I think that quarterbacks having the opportunity to sit a year and then come out guns a-blazing is the best possible outcome for those quarterbacks. Tanner Mordecai included, and even your man's Trevor Lawrence. It worked out. I'm glad it worked out. I'm glad that Dabo has this guy. But he also brought in another guy that is the most talented 2020 quarterback for next year to compete with Trevor Lawrence. You think that kid's going to usurp Trevor Lawrence? Well, he might. Kelly Bryant went 16-2, and before Kelly Bryant, nobody thought about Trevor Lawrence before he got to Clemson. So, I think it's a case-by-case basis, but if you have a guy that you are not sure about as a true freshman, there's no reason to play him. That's the reason that the redshirt rule exists, is so that you can give guys you're not absolutely sure can go out there and do the job a year to get underneath them. And even then, we're just coming out of a period where it was not uncommon for quarterbacks to sit 2 and 3 years before even getting a shot at the job. So it also brings in the question what I've asked all along, which is, why are you telling us there's a competition, man? And it's because I believe in his mind, he believes there is one. And I think he's trying to get across his reality of there being a competition to the quarterbacks and media and fans. Problem is, I know how this thing ends. And I think you know how this thing ends, Patrick.
Sure.
So, I mean, what are we really talking about? Except the date when Jalen Hurts gets named starting quarterback.
Sure. How about this? Let's just pretend for a second that this is a real competition. That Lincoln Riley is telling us the honest to God truth here. Is Jalen Hurts struggling? Are there things that aren't coming along the way that you would expect them to? Now, look, he could be completely lying to us and just trying to keep this under wraps. I don't think Houston is preparing for anyone else besides Jalen Hurts. I don't think any of their other opponents are preparing for anyone besides Jalen Hurts, but maybe there is a modicum of truth here, and Mordecai, who's been in the system for a full year. I know that Jalen Hurts has been here for the spring, but maybe there is some competition here.
No, I think even more than that. I look back at Jalen Hurts his freshman year. He was an early enrollee, and he played right away. So if anybody could pick up an offense on the fly and be able to go out there and operate within the offense and do well, it's that guy. The more I look at this competition, the more data I just have to drop in the bucket for Jalen Hurts, man. Like, even when you try to cut it up to see who the starter might be outside of that, you go, hey, what if this guy struggles? Oh, yeah, you really want to throw Spencer Rattler out there with the offense struggling? Because it ain't just going to be Hurts that struggles. It's going to be the offense if he struggles. And then you're going to put out a dude that just got here that has all of the talent in the world, if not has won the room. So you're making more problems for yourself. Like, that's what I'm saying. I'm most interested to see how it plays out, because that's compelling to me, because I like drama as much as anybody else. But it ain't going to be a good look if you got to sit Jalen Hurts for Tanner Mordecai or Spencer Rattler for anybody, let alone the quarterbacks. Ain't going to be a good look for Lincoln Riley. Ain't going to be a good look for his offensive line. Ain't going to be a good look for his wide receivers or his running back. And you want to talk about defenses having to do some work. Can you imagine having to depend on Oklahoma's defense to go out there and win you a ball game? You're going to feel terrible about that. You know, like, I don't see this cutting very well. What I'm saying here is that if Jalen Hurts struggles, Oklahoma struggles.
Oh,
if Oklahoma struggles, you're looking at a loss in September and possibly 2 losses after the Red River rivalry, in which case you can kiss the college football playoff goodbye.
Mm-hmm. No, Jalen Hurts has to win. And look, we've talked about this before. Hey, Baker Mayfield, Kyler Murray, they had to win football games and win a lot of football games despite OU's defense. Now again, I get Jalen Hurts is talented and he has abilities, but as we've said many times, if Jalen Hurts threw a pick or two in a game, he still had a defense to fall back on that could help him. If he throws a couple picks in a game at OU might be in some big trouble. And we saw Kyler Murray, we saw Baker Mayfield do superhuman things to bring them back into the game. Look at the Texas game. Kyler Murray almost brought them all the way back at the Cotton Bowl because he did some superhuman things. Can Jalen Hurts do some superhuman things like Baker and Kyler did? That's an unanswered question.
It is. I also saw that dude do some superhuman things against Georgia in the SEC championship game.
Sure.
And I saw him do some superhuman things against Clemson in the 2016 college football playoff. So I think that answers your question. He hadn't done it at Oklahoma, and you could say that he had a defense to fall back on, but he was the dude that willed them to a victory against a Georgia team that everybody thought was going to end up in the college football playoff. And more to the point, Jalen Hurts ain't getting paid. He ain't. The guy getting paid to pull a rabbit out of a hat is Lincoln Riley and Alex Grinch. Alex Grinch is the highest paid defensive coordinator in Oklahoma history. $1.4 million, because when it comes down to nut-cutting time, it's his time, or it ain't. I'm willing to throw this at the feet of the people that are getting paid millions of dollars to do it, and not at the kid that just turned 21 earlier this month, who's shown that he could do the job at the highest level for a coach that everybody believes is one of the greatest of all time.